How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. After yesterday's game, we are once again trying to find ways to produce offense on this roster. The outfield is abysmal. I wrote this morning. The combined outfield numbers are quite disappointing. I think they're hitting 184 combined with a 245 OBP and 301 slugging across all their 5 primary outfielders. That is a very problematic stat line to consider, and the Yankees need to find some supplements. Now, you wrote a really great article this morning about one of the players in the AAA roster, Jake Bauers, who's bounced around a couple MLB teams, now is trying to find his own back in the minor league system, and he's been crushing it to start 2023, to say the least. He's been on fire. Now, the Yankees need support. They could use an outfielder. They could use another first baseman to help give Anthony Rizzo some time off. You know, Rizzo has the chronic back issue that is going to pop up, that is going to become an issue if they do not manage the workload. Same thing with Aaron Judge. You know, he's going through kind of a cold streak right now. I think now's the perfect time to give him a day off. They need someone who's not going to be Willie Calhoun or Franchy Cordero. Franchy Cordero hasn't gotten on base in 7 games. Willie Calhoun is not really traditionally a great player, and he can't really play defensively, so he's kind of been featuring as our DH. Now, you found a guy who could make an impact. He's a former top prospect, and you have a lot of information to give us regarding why he should be promoted and what the kind of impact he can make on this team, Ryan. Before we dive into it, how you do today, my friend?
I'm doing great. I think that when we're looking at, the Yankees right now, they're in desperation mode. We aren't talking about a situation where, they have good players struggling and you figure that those good players will turn around. Now, I think Judge and Cabrera kind of have served as exceptions to that. I think they will play better than that. But I think, and this goes for Cabrera, for Peraza, for Volpe, those are young players. You expect them to start out slow and kind of pick it up as the games carry on. But it's the guys outside. It's the guys, the IKFs, the Willie Calhouns, the Aaron Hickses, the Franchy Corderos of the world, where that's supposed to be your depth. Those are kind of your question marks, your X factors. If some of them can get going, your lineup gets that much better, and all of them have stunk. Aaron Hicks has been bad for a while now. IKF really never was a big hitter. And Calhoun and Cordero were experiments. Cordero gave you that stretch for a while. He helped you win some ball games. I am eternally grateful for that because he had some fun moments, but it seems like his magic has run out. As for Lee Calhoun, as you mentioned, he's never been a good player in his career, which kind of sucks for him, but the Yankees really, they don't have they can't keep trotting him out there and expecting good results. But in the case of Jake Bauers, Jake Bauers is someone who was a former top prospect, ranked number 64 on MLB Pipeline in 2018. He was part of a pretty big trade that sent Yandy Diaz to the Rays and sent Edwin Encarnacion. I think it was to Cleveland or away from Cleveland. But there were some pretty notable players involved in that trade, and he was one of those players. He never really had his in-game power or his raw power translate to in-game power. He was someone who never really slugged much. Good OBP, good walk rates, just didn't hit the ball hard enough for him to stick, especially at a position like first base where you typically see a lot of your offense come from, right? Like Anthony Rizzo, Luke Voigt, right? Mark Teixeira in recent years, right? Those are the Yankees' recent first basemen. A lot of those guys were big home run hitters, right? You typically don't see a guy with like a 300 slugging percentage or a slap type hitter playing first base. So Bauers really didn't fit the mold, but with the Yankees in AAA so far, he's already surpassed his 2022 total in minor league home runs with 9 this year. He's hit a new max exit velocity as recently as yesterday with a 113.5 mile per hour home run. He's averaging 94.5 miles an hour on his exit velocity. He's finally hitting the ball hard. He's always been a guy with good swing decisions, and now he's finally hitting the ball hard. And I know it's coming at the age of 27, and he's spent a lot of time in AAA, so there's legitimate concern that could just be, hey, this is just a quadruple A player who finally figured out AAA. But the Yankees, when they brought in Voigt, when they brought in Urshela, they were both 27, and both were pretty decent prospects who just couldn't figure it out at the major league level. Could this be that same case? Maybe. I know that it is something that, again, you're relying on a player who doesn't have much major league success, but I don't know if it's relying as much as it is just trying to get something new or just trying to try new things, because the team really hasn't hit that well, and the guys who are supposed to be X factors haven't been. So I don't know what you think about the Yankee situation, but I think we can agree here. They're in desperate times, and desperate times call for desperate measures.
I mean, you can say that again. You kind of hinted at an interesting point, which was, he hasn't been altogether that great at that major league level, but he's performing really well at the AAA level. Now, you could argue that Willie Calhoun is a AAA player. Franchy Cordero is a AAA player. Aaron Hicks at this point is a single A player. These guys are not contributing. Yes, Hicks had a hit yesterday, but it was right at Solano was right at the first baseman. He just missed it, and then he gets home because the throw from I think it was supposed to be a double play, and Carlos Correa maybe skips it in the dirt, or Solano misses the throw too. Hicks was gifted a base hit and gifted a run. It boosted his numbers a little bit, but we saw what happened. If you watch the game, 2 errors on the first baseman really that allowed him to get on base and score. So unless he's getting help from opposing defenses, Hicks is useless, and we know this already. So, you look at guys like Calhoun, you look at guys like French, who has been on base in 7 games, and you say, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? There's nothing to lose. Jake Bauers is crushing it at the AAA level. We just need fresh blood, right? We need fresh legs. We need someone who hasn't sucked at the MLB level for us this season. IKF equally as bad when it comes to his, he was starting to get a couple hits here and there, but ultimately, we can't trust him as a defensive piece in the outfield, let alone a consistent hitter, especially one without any power. Jake Bauers is a lefty, right? So at least you could try to take advantage of that short right porch, and he does have 2 MLB seasons with double-digit homers. He had 11 in 2018 and 12 homers in 2019. So you're looking at a player that traditionally has managed to show some power. He was a 97 WRC plus back in 2018, which obviously is quite a long time ago. Defensively, tell me about his game there. If you're going to call up Jake Bauers, what are you getting from him defensively? Are you looking to kind of supplement Anthony Rizzo, give him a couple days off here and there, and allow him to play some first base? Can he play the outfield? Is he capable? Is he any worse than Calhoun, Franchi, or Hicks? What is your take on that end?
Yeah, so the way I view it is that, if you look at how DRS and OAA grades him, he has a positive DRS in his major league career in the outfield and a negative OAA. Now, that number has gotten better if you look at his most recent season, especially at first base, right? Like the improvements defensively across the board were there. I don't know if that sticks, right? Like that's obviously a concern. Like, hey, is that a fluke or is that something that sticks? I think you have to take that chance and say, hey, he was good defensively in his most recent major league season. There is a chance that sticks. He is a arm over range guy. His speed isn't bad, but he doesn't take the best outfield routes. And that's supported by DRS. Typically an outfielder with good defensive runs saved and average to below average, outs above average. That typically means that said player is an arm first guy, right? Because outs above average, they do not factor in your arm defense. So what do you do with throws, right? Are your throwing decisions good? Can you throw the ball really hard? Can you throw guys out, right? Stuff like that doesn't get factored into OAA. So DRS does take a factor into that. So that's a key distinction to be made there. So I would take that over Willie Calhoun, who's such a bad defender that I don't think the Yankees like throwing him out there. He has a career like negative 14 defensive runs saved and I think it's worse than negative 10 OAA or something around that range. Cordero's a traditionally not a good defender as well. We saw this in the Minnesota series, was not looking great in that outfield. And then as for first base, he can definitely supplement Rizzo on those days, but I view him as a primary, like for what this team needs, I view him as someone who's playing in the outfield pretty frequently. Again, look, I'm not trying to sit here and say that Jake Bauers is going to come up and he's 100% going to be great. But what I am saying is that I think there's a higher chance of him doing well than of Willie Calhoun or Franchi Cordero doing well. And even if it's a percentage point, we're talking like a 5% chance of him being better, or a 5% better improvement in offense, or a 10% improvement in offense. This team is so bad offensively. They really feel like they're a hit away or 2 hits away from at times from winning baseball games, right? If Anthony Rizzo comes up with a hit there with bases loaded and 2 out, right? Like who knows where that game goes, right? The Yankees started a rally in the bottom of the ninth. Clearly the guys after him, were ready to hit. You can't assume the outcome, but what if those guys got that inning and they just got out there and they were able to start hitting? Who knows how that game goes, right? And maybe if you're Aaron Boone, you feel a little more inclined to bring in a higher leverage guy, maybe someone who's a little less susceptible to giving up a run. I know a lot of people are putting a lot of blame on Aaron Boone, but it's a choice between playing Willie Calhoun and like Aaron Hicks. Like that's not a choice I want to be making. I think you have to look at the top of the organization. Hey, Brian Cashman. I don't really sit here and say fire Brian Cashman or anything like that. I typically am pretty calm about that. But hey, like this team stinks right now offensively. Let's shuffle it up a little bit. Like Willie Calhoun clearly isn't good. Franchi Cordero is clearly not good. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Aaron Hicks, they're clearly not good. Let's try something new, right? We're not pressing the panic button. I'm not asking you to call up a prospect that, you're wasting an option and they potentially not be ready and that could ruin their development. I'm asking you to call up a guy the way you called up Willie Calhoun, who is on paper at least a lot more talented and has skills that should translate to the major league level a little bit better. I don't think this is a panic move as much as it is just, hey, like this team, like these guys are not Major League Baseball players. We should replace them. I don't know what you think there.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know if you saw the lineup today, but good lord, is it freaking ugly again. The middle of our order, Calhoun, IKF, and Higashioka. I mean, talk about three automatic outs, basically. It is just every day. The middle to the bottom half of this order, and Cabrera hasn't been hitting much either. So you're looking at the bottom four batters are just liabilities across the board every single day. When you're paying $288 million in total payroll and you have the bottom half of your order basically useless, it is concerning. It is concerning to say the very least. And Jake Bauers, at the very least, is better than Calhoun right now, and he's better than IKF, and he's better than Franchy Cordero, just because he hasn't sucked recently. You know what I mean? Like, give someone an opportunity. Like, why, like, Calhoun over Jake Bauers? Like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, they're both not proven MLB talents. This is just like, at some point the Yankees need to make some changes. At some point they need to make some changes just because it's not working. Like, Calhoun's playing right field today, man. Calhoun's playing in right field today defensively. Like, what, you can tell me Jake Bauers is worse defensively than him in the outfield? No. You know what I mean? Judge getting the DH spot today. They're trying to give him a little bit of rest. But, this is tough. What are your thoughts on this lineup today?
It's bad. It's terrible. This is not the lineup that a Major League Baseball team with World Series expectations or aspirations should be throwing out there. And I've stayed pretty steady on the fact that I am not going to start saying this team is one thing or another based on April. But that doesn't mean that you can't be frustrated at this lineup, right? I would sit here and say, hey, let's not rush to the conclusion that this team can't make the playoffs or can't win the World Series. But if you're upset at this lineup, that's more than reasonable. This lineup stinks. Everyone knows Willie Calhoun is bad at baseball. Everyone knows Franchy Cordero is bad at baseball. Everyone knows IKF can't hit. Everyone knows Aaron Hicks can't play baseball at the Major League level at an effective rate anymore. Everyone knows these things. Everyone. Fans, talent evaluators. If talent evaluators didn't feel that way, Willie Calhoun would have gotten a job somewhere else. Franchy Cordero wouldn't have been cut by the Orioles. Aaron Hicks would have been traded. Someone would have traded for him. These guys aren't good. IKF would have been traded. No one wants to trade for IKF at $6 million. What tells you he's a starting center fielder for a team? Look, end of the day, these guys suck, right? Look, they're Major League Baseball players, so compared to the rest of the world, they're good baseball players. But for the New York Yankees, they're not good enough. Change something. They're not good enough. They're not, right? This isn't they're clearly not. They're not good enough. Everyone knows this. This is an April overreaction. Willie Calhoun isn't bad just because he's been bad in April 2023. He's bad because ever since he stepped foot on the Major League field, he has a negative 2.7 F-WAR. IKF isn't bad because of this year. IKF is bad because he's a career below average hitter. Aaron Hicks isn't bad because of this year. It's because since 2020, he has, one WAR in about 200 games, right? Same thing with Franchy Cordero. He's not bad because we decided he's bad in April. He's bad because he's been cut by multiple teams, and he has been bad in his Major League career. These are bad Major League players. They don't need to get more run. We don't need to figure out what we have in these guys. Aaron Boone, again, I'm not saying you should blame him for those guys playing, but him going out and saying Willie Calhoun's gonna bang. No, he's not. He sucks. He's not going to. Don't believe yourself that that's gonna happen, right? You can say it to support the player. I get that, but I hope that that's not the organization's thought process with Calhoun. Boone can support his guy, sure. That's their manager's job, but I hope the organization doesn't feel that way. I hope they know he sucks, and I hope they're ready to make the change soon. I'm not waiting for Harrison Bader to come back to make that change. Make a change now, right? Again, you can make the change right now. There is nothing stopping the Yankees from DFAing Calhoun and calling up Bauers. Nothing. Nothing is stopping them from doing it. Other than they probably think that Calhoun's good enough. And that's not true. He sucks.
Yeah, that was a pretty solid rant. And I like how you pointed to the fact that some people show up in the comments and are like, it's too early to react like this. It's too early to make these generalizations. And no, yes, it's been a month of the 2023 season, but most of the players we're talking about have been bad their entire careers. This isn't just a month, guys. This is years of data, years of consistent crap play. And, you have to look at it as a total and not as a small sliver of a much larger sample size of inadequate performance. So, guys, I'd love to hear perspectives on Jake Bauers, which was supposed to be a little more of a positive twist. Hopefully the Yankees do give him an opportunity, because right now I can't bear to see Franchy. I can't bear to see Willie Calhoun. At the very least, Franchy needs to be sent down or DFA'd, and Jake Bauers needs to be called up, because they just need something different. Look, Franchy hasn't gotten on base in 7 games, and he's starting every other day on average, at least. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable, guys. It's unacceptable. We should not have to tolerate this level of mismanagement, right? Like, if you have a player that's traditionally awful at the major league level, who hasn't been on base in 7 games, and he's playing a key role in our lineup, you need to make better decisions. And guys, I'd love to hear perspectives below. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a 5-star if you're on Apple and Spotify. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.